G'day guys, with a bit of a slow turn down in the Saturday meetings for New South Wales, I thought I might just whack together a little bit different, set up a quick horse to follow segment. I'll go backwards and just cover a few meetings from the last week, a few races from each, just to probably stand out runs. None of them are going to be too exciting this week, but as the weeks go on, I'll try and take note of more while doing races and report them each week. So, starting out with Hawkesbury just finished, Saturday just finished, race 4, really slow tempo race, 1100 metre quality sprint. Felines wins the race. They go out really quite slow and get home hard, so obviously those back in the field were going to struggle off a slow tempo here. Definitely the pattern was probably hard fence was not the place to be. Everywhere else seemed okay. I don't think it was totally off. There were winners there, but obviously pace related a lot of the time. A lot of slow pace races on the day. So the horses I kindly wanted to highlight here, looking at it from the start, Clearly Innocent, who went around first up, and Grundazit from the Godolphin camp, both first up. Clearly Innocent's probably the pick of the two, just showing that Clearly Innocent's restrained out of the race early because of that wide gate. Obviously could have held a more prominent position, is better over further, but I don't think that's absolutely set in stone. I do think he can sprint and has proven it in the past, and I don't think it's against him to measure up to a decent sprint field. You see that Grundazit's over racing, Clearly Innocent's racing wide. I'm not saying that's a big disadvantage here with his slow tempo. He's really not working too hard there, and I don't think he's a horse that sort of he appreciates a bit of space, if anything, but does get lost in behind them. And force widest. So the two of them here, Grundazit coming through the middle in restricted room, and Clearly Innocent doing his best work at the end of the race. Really never gets wound up until late. You see past the line. Clearly Innocent and Grundazit's doing his best work in restricted room in there. So just two horses to follow out of a race of probably unlucky stories. It's not a race you really want to find horses in usually with such a bunch finish, but it is a slow tempo and they do run solid time still, so there's plenty of merit in the race, plenty of good runs in it. Another horse that was held up here and may probably go to this Scone sort of race, so these horses will all probably a big chance of showing up in the Scone meeting in a couple of weeks, and Burning Passion, Grundazit and Clearly Innocent are all going well enough to win races for sure. Race 5, another slowish tempo and another back marker, which again finds its problems. But this horse, I believe, is heading up to Brisbane in a few weeks. He's put in some really solid efforts this time in, being Better Not Blue. Gets back to last on the fence. And not last on the fence, third last the fence. The Apprentice riding for the first time, not really an Apprentice's horse. Can understand where they were going with the claim, but probably didn't work out in the end. Here we see Better Not Blue in behind. Again, he's got the slow tempo against him. Probably not that easy to identify with all the runners coming from last, but they did seem to have a bit of a class edge on the rest of the field. And you'll see Better Not Blue's lost all momentum here, held up on heels, held up on heels, held up on heels, held up on heels. Gets at that last bit, and you can see how he sort of savages the line there, and we'll see him up alongside these horses after the line. So something similar. I believe he's going to a 1350 at Doomben. Possibly Eagle Farm would be ideal, but Doomben, a big field, genuine tempo. He's going to be a nightmare to hold out up there. The last one, another horse that'll probably end up in Brisbane, is South Sonic. So this was the 1400 metre Group 3 for the 3-year-olds. Another softish tempo. Other hard luck stories. Not really looking for this horse to measure up next up, but just thinking he could get to a good race in Brisbane over sort of a mile, even further out to a Derby trip. Gets back to last here, South Sonic. He's eased out of the race. This is him back. The tail. The winner's inside him. He goes exceptionally wide, whereas the winner cuts through the middle. Pinches runs, has a nice turn of foot. He's definitely not a horse suited by a slow tempo. He's a big track and wants to wind up horse, and he really got to the line quite nicely, I thought. There were other unlucky runners there, obviously, horses like Generalissimo, Calander, but this horse is one that I think can get out over a trip and be a danger in a Brisbane Carnival. Newcastle on the same day, on the Saturday. Pretty lean pickings here, and going with a big margin win is never really ideal, but off a slowish tempo in what looked the worst part of the track on the inside, this horse has done a very good job first up. 900 is a bit of a specialist distance, but she definitely looks like she's come back well enough to win over a little bit further. And this horse, Rebel Miss, off a couple of nice trials, did a really good effort here. Ran time, put the horses away, big margins behind, and there's really nothing negative about her performance. Holds third defence, gets off the heels of the lead turning, and they've basically gone out at an even tempo and picked it up from there and run really good time. And the way she extends, you'll see all these horses. She's the only one doing basically what she's doing, getting away from the rest of them. And she's got a nice sustained turn of foot there, with these gaps opening behind. So, big obvious winner, but still one that definitely looks like it has all the merit in the time, final sections, everything you can. Visually had a good acceleration, sustained that effort to the line, strong through the line. So, ticks all the boxes and can definitely go on to win more races this preparation. Goulburn on Friday. First horse we want to highlight Common Purpose. Started from an outside gate here first up, second from the outside, you'll see. One thing that's very hard to do in sprint races, and especially a race like this where they've run good time, is being restrained out of the gate. I don't mind racing wide and holding your momentum in a 1,000-metre race, but doing it under restraint, wasting energy, and then having to try and pick up from there. So we'll see straight out of the gates here, this horse is basically eased out of it. You can see it physically restraining the horse here, and the horse sort of fighting him. They're actually going a little bit quicker than they look, so that makes it even more difficult that during a fast period of the race, he's restraining wide without cover. Looks to nearly get in here for a stride, but then pops out again out wider. And now he finally lets the horse get into its rhythm. It's already had to fight for the first half of the race. And those sort of that have had the more comfortable runs on the inside have conserved a lot more energy. Now asked to make another run. Puts the rest of the horses away except for the winner, who could be Welcome Smart. I think it was a 2-year-old debut. But obviously that's going to be picked up well. So this is the one to follow for me out of the race. Going to go to another maiden, obviously. And plenty of merit in his run first up from a spell. Probably no flash odds available, considering I don't think that run will be missed by too many, but definitely should be breaking through pretty soon. Final one I want to show is the Mile Maiden for the day. Another horse that gets restrained well out of its ground. Is relatively pace assisted. They do run quite quick time up front, but is asked to sustain a really long run. Third run in its life, 12, 14, 1600 metres. So it has had to step, and really only did fail quite late. A monster gap behind, and probably second and third can be followed here. But the third horse, the second horse is the one I'm most interested in. Yeah, we'll go through it. So at the start, this is the horse we're talking about. So out wide here in the black and white colours. He's definitely a horse that can hold a more forward position than it did today, which is a big part of why it's a horse to follow. If it drew a softer gate here, could definitely have finished much closer. I believe this is the horse that runs second, which is also restrained out of the race. Could be wrong there, so I'll double check it, but the two of them get well back. And the winner is up here is a good effort as well, but it obviously goes to higher grade next start. So you'll see that Crystal never really gets in, eases, and then takes off. Wide, only gets wider, sustains this run. This is the other horse that was also fast away and restrained. And they both come to the outside here and try and maintain this run, and both of them just sort of peter out late, and the winner kicks back and beats them. But you'll see what they do to the rest. I think they put about 10 on the rest of these horses late in the game. The overall time's good, and these horses aren't going to be maidens long, whether they step up a little bit in trip or stay at the mile. They both look strong enough types. It's not as if they weaken out of it on the line, they just die on their run a little bit and still going okay. So it's a lottery in Crystal from that race. Heading back to Wyong on Thursday. I thought this horse in race 1, just wanted to have a quick look at its form. So it had the one run in that fast race at Gosford behind Zonk. Sat third the fence, got beat 7.5. Obviously the form out of that race has been really good. Jumped straight to 1,300 metres, which is not easy to do, especially considering sort of went out to 13, came back in its first preparation, but good form there around, again, the likes of In Times of War, Zonk, Bravo's come out 1 in town. There's a lot of good stuff back in this horse's form lines, and for it to jump from 1,000 to 1,300 here, even though it sets a bit of a leisurely tempo, was never going to be an easy thing. I thought the rider did a really good job early, not restraining the horse. Going from 1,000 to 13, the horse is obviously going to want to be a little bit keen, usually stepping up that sharply in distance. I thought she did a really good job through this first half, not fighting the horse. And where she made a bit of a mistake, if anything, was really trying to put the anchors on here when she had good control of the race. You'll see the horse noticeably slowed down, the others sort of start to catch. If she had put the pedal down there and kept it down, I think she may have been more difficult to hold out. But just allowing these other horses to catch her under their own steam probably left her a little bit flat, and then tried to pick up rather than continue to roll. And then she's in a dogfight and probably runs out of condition here once again. Good gaps back to the rest. The time was only fair, but considering how slow they went to the 600 metre mark, no disgrace in that. Good gaps between the rest of them, and these horses didn't have terrible form. The horses back in behind, so I don't think Write This Down is going to be a maiden for very long at all. Next start, probably ready to go, 1,400, 1,300, something like that, ready to win. Vanzetta in race 3 was a bit of another obvious winner, but again, similar to the last obvious winner I showed. Slow tempo, plenty of merit in the last leg, plenty of margins opening up behind, and everything that it's done's pretty much backed up. So this is, it's a little bit dangerous going with maiden winners, and you want to tick a lot of boxes. The only box this horse doesn't basically tick is his speed, but definitely has stamina and the potential to get further, and strength through the line, which is the other reason you'd want to. So a good ride from Tommy Berry, really. Waited for them to bunch and took off, but a really good sustained sprint. You can see them all going now at the same time, and she's dominant over these horses, and this gap opening up here is what I like to see, especially off the slow pace. So the ones up on here, first and third, are the ones who run second and third, and she's come from last. Put them away. Dominant late, which is what you want to see, opening that margin and strong through the line. So those gaps have all opened up in the straight, so something really good's happened there. It was a well-timed run, but has sustained it from last, and a good win, and a horse that looks like it'll get further and win more races. That was the previous page. Okay, so we go to Canterbury, the previous day. One that not many people would have missed in the first race. Slow tempo, they still run solid time. Short price favourite here in Slow Burn. Coming off a really dominant win its first start. We'll see that you can see that she was just playing around there and probably should have been let go. Bit of the starter's problem, so I wouldn't say it was a horse's habitual thing at the moment, which would be a bad thing. I'd just say that was just really poor luck and poor timing. Horse that led its first start, now back to last in this race. Forced to do it from the other end, so that's one thing. Second start in a race, not easy to do that. But also really slow tempo up front, which you can see here with these horses all stacked up and pulling. The rider has to ease back to sort of give himself the option to go wide or follow up the inside. Eventually has to make that decision to go wide, which was a little bit tougher again. Second horse in the run, Siskin, is a nice horse in the making as well, coming off a really strong win. So I think the form around the first three over the line here will be strong. All five look like they're sort of genuine at least city grade horses. With the first two, I think first and third, definitely group class for mine. That last 100 metres is really impressive against this slow tempo of both these horses. I don't think either of them was suited. The one that you probably want to be a little bit concerned about was the leader, who had everything in its favour and was just a little bit weak late. So following first and third, definitely following third. Definitely think it's a black type horse in the making, and Siskin can probably keep going forward. And if it ends up at Scone, Brisbane, I wouldn't be scared of following it either. Race 2, another horse that looks progressive and flying is Speed Hero. See him eased out of the race back to last year. Another really slow tempo. Time again pretty solid, so a good effort to come from last here. See him not really appreciating the steady tempo up front throughout the run. And then this is the boat a little bit here, where he could have been up sort of on the flanks of these. The winner, Savan, completely probably cost him 2 or 3 lengths of where he could have been in the run, and probably, it's hard to quantify that at the end of a race, but definitely should have been much closer. And that horse, who looks a quality horse itself, Savan, definitely just pinched a little break on him, and he's as strong, if not stronger, through the line. Special mention to this horse, the Wendy Roach trained horse, that kind of got lost a bit there too and stuck inside horses, only got out late and doesn't finish. I think it finishes second last, and it's not a bad second last in that field. Definitely one that can improve Ardanza at its second start in a race there over the 1550. So I think that'll be a quality little race. The winner definitely will go on. Speed Hero, Sahara Eagle, even though that probably would appreciate a more genuine tempo and rolling along rather than sit sprint. And Ardanza as well back in the field. So there's a few in that race that can definitely come out of it and run well. Bathurst now, and a horse that's been a bit of a punish to me. It's a horse called Ave. Looked well placed in this race. They've come out and actually run really fast time, especially for the day. See, this horse doesn't have a lot of luck throughout the run, strong on the line late, and really bit of a tragedy beaten here. Has been a bit unlucky. If it gets a bit of a pilot change, which is what we've been waiting for, it'll probably just win wherever it goes in this sort of grade. Even up to a mile, I wouldn't be scared to backing it. This is her here. She was a very narrowly beaten last start with a nice gap behind her and looked well placed here, but we'll see that where she sort of gets to, where she could have pushed forward and possibly led, she ends up dragged back out of the race here. You can see, so where she could have been third the fence, she ends up 7th. And in an awkward position now, horse is coming around her, and you can see her bobbing up and down here and checking, losing the momentum she should have had, being in this position. You can still see her here, but not being able to build any momentum and wasting energy. held up, held up, held up. All these horses have got clear running and momentum on the inside. She still hasn't got the horse balance, only now really gets it balanced and gets it going through its gears, and it is that sort of horse. Doesn't look like a horse with a really sharp turn of foot, but does have gears and builds through the momentum. And not a bad fourth considering everything that's gone wrong in the race, and only beaten a narrow margin, so she should be breaking through in a maiden very soon. Back to Randwick. Race 4, Stayers race. It did look like they went really slow here, but it was quite an even tempo, and they built off that and actually ran good time. So a little bit a case of what it looked like here, with horses sort of over racing a little bit and looking pretty keen, and a slow tempo. They actually ran along quite evenly to the 600 metre mark. The horse we're highlighting here is the one back last, Lifeless Ordinary. Came off a steady tempo to win its first start at Sandown. I believe it was at Flemington. I'm not 100% sure. It might have made, actually, could be Caulfield. Anyway, won its first up run in Melbourne. Really strong late there. Actually, its last 50 metres was really impressive. Did look a scary horse to beat here, but it does look like a horse that's going to appreciate a little bit further and a little bit stronger tempo. See, it's just sort of only starting to build through its gears towards the end of its race here. This was only second up after stepping up again. That sit sprint tempo may not have really been up his alley, but he gets very close here. I believe he's off to the Wagga Cup next Friday. He'll be a nightmare to beat there. Big open track. And with that run under his belt, he looks exceptionally hard to beat wherever he goes next start. The other horse I kind of wanted to highlight here was a horse called Princess Padrilla. It trialled really well. 1400 metres first up on this testing surface was always going to be difficult. And what I like is that despite over racing a touch during the run, being fresh here on this fast tempo, Duchess Padrilla, that she got right in the firing line with 100 metres to go and only really knocked up late, and quite a lot of her merit was hidden just simply due to her condition giving out. So she looms up with this horse laying in on top of her down the outside. Gets close enough to the front here, and a bit of bumping, and she only knocks up this last sort of 50, 100 metres and ends up 5th. So I've got no doubt that if she was hard fit, she would have won that race. And she's going to go into something similar next start with that run under her belt, another 1400 probably. I'd like to see her at least 2 weeks between runs. 3 would be ideal to sort of make sure she's got over that, even a bit of a James Cummings trial before she next races, just to blow the cobwebs out would be great. But she looks like she's come back a better horse and definitely has a win in her this preparation. Lucky last was a horse called the Frick. It was first up here in a 1400 metre race. Another softish tempo where the leaders really controlled things. It wasn't the easiest thing in the world to run on from a long way back on this day. So his effort here, when he sort of loses a bit of momentum and then really hits the line late's good. Time's good. Last section's good. Which is when he does his best work. So he looks a horse that's come back really well. There is another horse in the race that I would like to forgive. There were 2 runners here. So the Frick's in the white. It comes back here with the white with the blue cap. And this is the other horse that Armadale, who didn't have a lot of luck either. Sorry, Armadale's here in the green. I'll have a quick look at it during the run. And the Frick's directly outside Armadale at this point. So we'll look at the Frick. Actually, we might as well look at Armadale first. So just having a look at her, you'll see that she's niggled along, and really he's bouncing up and down a bit in the irons here, getting checked, getting held up. You can see her racing fiercely. She's a horse that was first up here, no trial, 1400 metres. So as soon as this sort of thing happens, it's very hard for a horse of these natures to finish the race off, and you can still see that the horse looks uncomfortable bouncing, not in restricted room, or it is in restricted room, and hasn't been able to get into any sort of rhythm. Still looks to be restrained and racing a little bit fiercely to my eye there. And in restricted room, checked again. Basically runs up the back side of them again here and looking for a run. And eventually sort of gives up. You see him again, checked and held in behind horses there. And still running in behind them. And only sort of whacks away late and loses out of the picture. So a complete forgive for mine for Almedal. This is the horse I want to have a look at as well. Go back. Frick was eased out of the race early. Given time to find his feet. He's the winner in front. The second horse is a couple of lengths in front of him, but stays on the rail. And we'll see the Frick tries to get off the fence here. The Barricade makes his move around one runner and gets to the outside, while the Frick's sort of following through here, and I'm not sure why. Sort of didn't position for that inside run and follow the short price favourite, but he spent a little bit more energy getting up off the fence and having to take a little bit longer to get off the heels of this runner and really be able to wind up. See that it takes him quite a while. He's definitely not a push button horse, but they are sprinting pretty hard here, and when he does get on his right leg and he charges late. So he's an interesting horse for mine. Around these sort of country areas, once he gets to a mile and a little bit further, he really may have come on. He did show a bit of promise in his first prep, and he looks like he's come back a better horse. So that's it for the last week. Hopefully make this a weekly thing, and any horses to follow you see yourself, feel free to send them through to me, and I'd love to have a look at them. And thanks guys, and we'll have a preview for Wednesday, hopefully up tomorrow. Cheers.